Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Screens from the Basement podcast with Sam and Casey. I am one of your co-hosts. I'm Casey. Joined with me, as always, is my partner in crime on this adventure, Sam. Sam, how are you doing, buddy?
Doing great, Casey. Doing really good. Really excited for this episode. We watched a cool movie that's hitting Shudder, and yeah, we've got the director on to talk about it.
We sure do. And the title of our podcast has never been more appropriate than
Oh, yeah.
today's movie that we're talking
Yeah.
about. We're discussing Shudder's latest film. It's called Baghead, hits Shudder April 5th. We're joined by the director, Alberto. Hello, Alberto. Welcome. Welcome to Screens in the Basement. That seems something you're very familiar to in Baghead.
Hey, hi everyone. Yeah, when I read the invitation, it was like, what are they called? Basement. Oh my God, I've been 6 years in the basement, so to speak. So yeah, I had to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks for coming on the show. Thanks for sharing this movie with us.
My
for-
pleasure.
yeah. To start off, why don't you tell us a little bit about Baghead? Like, what is Baghead? What is this movie?
It's a movie mostly about grief, about family, about things we cannot move on from, and about that witch in a basement. So yeah, that's pretty much what it is, with a few scares thrown in for fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this movie is, like I said, me and Sam did have a chance to watch this, and I had an absolute blast watching this movie. This is just a fun late night horror movie that I know my wife wasn't watching with me, but it's going to be one I'm going to tell her, hey, this is one you're going to want to watch with your friends when you're looking for a recommendation. It's definitely one of those movies. So congratulations on the film. We're excited to share it out. One thing I thought was interesting in doing research for this is that this is based on a short film that you made, what, 5-6 years ago, something like that. Is that correct? What was the short film? What was the short film about, and how did you go about adapting, a short idea into a feature-length film?
Well, the short was shot. We brought it out in November 2017, so it's been over 5 years until now. And yeah, it's pretty much it. I shot the short thinking that it was a cool idea for a feature. I got the script from Lorcan Rayleigh for the short, and at the time I was actually looking for collaborators and material to do a really low budget feature. But when I read the story with Baghead, I said, this is so cool. It's such a cool character, so such a deep, iconic. And so we decided, okay, I will do the short in the condition that we are going to try to get it in a transfer to feature. So we did it. We brought it out. I was in the festival run for almost 2 years, trying to promote it and finding people, networking. And in the end, it paid out. I found the people from Good Fear at the time. Jack Wagner, my manager, was working there. And they had this experience of making other short films into features, mainly horror. And that's how everything started. That's how the process started. It shouldn't have taken that long, so to say, because many people say, yeah, it was kind of fast. But it for me, it took long because COVID hit. And yeah, like we all know, 2 years, our lives were kind of in hibernation mode. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's been done. So happy about it.
So when you first got the script for the short and then in adapting it into a feature, tell us a little bit about the concept of Baghead and what you brought to the script to make this unique, like very unique horror icon in the titular Baghead in The Witch.
I think it was a combination of a really good script for the short from Lorcan, with almost everything was there. My part was more to embed it in the visuals. I'm a huge fan of Japanese horror movies, and I always, when I read this character, I saw the opportunity, because in the original script she had already the burlap and the idea of only one eye hole for the burlap. But she was dressed like an old fragile lady, and in the short is more that kind of character, but we went completely different in terms of how we approach makeup for the hands, for the neck, and so on. I had a clear idea that I wanted to take it into that territory where everything is gray, the textures, this relationship that the witch has with death, with grief, and with all things. How to show it in a let's say visual way, but also menacing way, because it's a character that you are not really sure if it's evil or it's not evil. What she does is very creepy. So my idea was to make it visually clear what this witch is about. And once we had it in the short, it was far easier to take it later for the feature, because at the end of the day, what made this feature possible was this character that visually we know is strong, is coming from a hole in the wall, is kind of this connection between the world of the living and the world of the dead, that she's walking here and forth all the time.
Awesome.
Yeah, what for me makes a great horror character and a great horror antagonist is the backstory that's set up, and there's a great backstory in this movie of Baghead. And now that we're in modern day, where she's in the basement of this bar, hiding in a hole in a wall, and she'll come out and speak to you for 2 minutes as someone that you would want to speak to in the afterlife, and then after that 2 minutes she turns back into an evil witch. I love the idea that, and you do a great job of explaining how she came to be and why she's in that house, or excuse me, in that bar in the basement there. Where did you go about finding the location of that? Because for me, that was one of my favorite things is the location of the bar and the basement, because it looks so creepy and menacing and ominous. Where did you go about finding that location?
It's a team effort with the scouts and so on. The thing is, at the beginning, the story was going to be based in England, in the UK. But because of the way it was produced and COVID and so on, the producer decided with the studio to take it to Berlin, because they had already there the connections, the crew, and so on, because it was very difficult to find places and for all crew to work. So they say, okay, we're shooting already a movie in Berlin. What about Berlin, Alberto? And I lived before in Germany, so I knew the language, I knew the culture and so on, and I knew Berlin is a pretty cool city and the architecture is amazing. So once we were there and we embraced, okay, we have to place it in Berlin. Let's take the advantage of being here and looking for the coolest places that we can find in Berlin. And the reality is that there are only 2 locations, to be honest. 3, we count Neil's house, but that is a little scene. The main movie, the main story happens in the bar and in the basement. And the bar is like a mansion, like a villa in Berlin, where we created not only the bar in this kind of whole living room, because we saw it and we said, this makes a creepy pub, and it has to be something different. It cannot be an ordinary pub where you're doing this. So that gave it a different touch. And the rest of the rooms we were using every room possible in that location. And the basement, we built it, because believe it or not, we visited almost every basement in Berlin where we could shoot. And for one reason or the other, it was impossible to use it. And mainly it was logistical problems, because when you have to bring lights, cameras, actors, makeup, all the thing, you cannot go to any place. You have to have a bit of the facilities to do it. So at the end, we decided, okay, we take the inspiration of many of these basements that we have seen, and then we create our own in the studio. So the basement was built in the studio. Great job by Mark Bitts, our production designer, because it is kind of a mix of everything that we saw and the central idea that we had also for that basement, where you can see the passage of time too in the items that are there, the kind of architecture that is a bit of a mix of everything, but also a bit out of guilt. So in the fact, it's mainly in 2 locations.
Yeah. There is, so the scene where a character essentially has to go to the morgue to identify a body. Where did you film that in an actual location? Because there's
Yeah.
that stairwell shot.
Yes.
That's just gorgeous. Where did you film that?
I had for me that shot, and it's one of the things that visually makes me really proud of, is because we really fought for that shot, the DP, Kelf, and myself, because I had this idea. The moment she sees the body and she goes down, it's like she's going to the other world. So we have to visually find a place where that makes sense. So that is the town hall. Is one of in Berlin you have different areas of Berlin, you have different town halls. So we visited all the town halls just to try to find something that could give us that feeling. And where she identifies the body, and the stairs are all in that town hall, which is gorgeous.
That's awesome. Yeah, it was a gorgeous building, and the shot is just incredible. So yeah, yeah. It's like it's the first moment in the movie where I was like, oh wow, like this is like, I don't know. It was such a cool shot. So um speaking of other things that I just found very interesting, there's a very unique sound design around Baghead, particularly with the transformation scenes. Can you talk us through like designing the sounds of Baghead transforming? Because it's gnarly. It's really gross sounding whenever a transformation happens.
I was with Rob, the sound designer. It was we spent a lot of time until we found what we wanted. For me, it was important to show from the beginning that these transformations that she undergoes are painful, because she rearranging herself to be someone else, and it could be someone bigger, someone smaller. So I wanted to have this cracking of the bones. I think Rob couldn't see me anymore with not enough cracking. Let's do a bit more. But then he starts adding other stuff that probably he thought I was going to think that's a bit over the top. I found it crazy good, because you have to have a bit of flesh too, and you think the whole process, like, if I was there and this was real, how would it sound to make it also feel painful for the person doing? And then the grunting, is like doing a session sitting with the actress, do some grunting. And it's someone who is playing the voice of the witch, only when she does the grunting or the running it was fun. It was fun, a bit weird, but the good thing is I think the result is there to see, well, there to hear.
Yeah, it's really great. It's really gnarly. I love the sound of the transformations, and I watched this with headphones in, and so it was just like right up in there, and like there were cringe moments for me where I was just like, oof.
Mission accomplished.
Yeah, mission accomplished for sure. Yes.
Alberto, I gotta ask, what are some of your influences to become a filmmaker? What are some of the influences that you had going into this movie, or where you're like, I'm gonna take a little bit of something from something I love and incorporate it and make it my own in Baghead?
Yeah, I always hate when I have to choose who my influences were, because it's like, who do you love more, dad or mom? And then I have these interviews, I say, oh, this director, and then I go home, I watch it, and I say, oh, I forgot to say Brian De Palma, for example. For me, was at some point he was God. I could watch anything he would get out, and I always found it incredibly good. I think you cannot see a lot of De Palma, for example, in Baghead, because it wasn't that kind of approach. Like I said, I'm a big sucker for Japanese and Korean horror movies. I really like the aesthetics and the pace of them too, and how they deal with horror in a different way that we do. So that was, I think, a big influence. I like always expressionism. Ridley Scott, for me, is one of these directors who has always a really remarkable way of using light in his movies. That's one of the influences. But in the approach, I think I could say almost any horror film director, I've watched everything from most of them. And I tend to define in like the kind of the yeah, gritty Guillermo del Toro's brother. He is very classy. I'm not that classy. I'm more gritty, the textures, the dirt. That's what I like. But I see him as someone who's up there. When you have to design something, what will Guillermo do? And you don't get there because it's impossible. He's the god of doing that. But it's always a good inspiration to think about this kind of directors. Yes.
Yeah. I think those influences are very evident in this movie. Particularly the J horror. When you said that, I was like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense, because it definitely has that that vibe to it, the kind of melancholy, slow burn. Like it's pretty great. You also have a leading actress in Freya Allen, and she's tremendous in this movie. Can you talk us through the casting process and how you landed on her and like what she brought to this role?
It's all in casting. It was my first movie, so I didn't have any idea how this process of casting goes. And I had, I don't know, almost 100 interviews with different people. And but at the end of the day, it was a matter of opportunity, because the studio at some point told us Freya is available, and I was a fan of The Witch already, so I knew her. And she had done a movie already with Studio Canal, which was Gunpowder Milkshake. So they wanted, after that experience, they knew this actress has something special. And when they told me, I was over the moon. We have to change a little bit the story, because she was a younger protagonist than what we have in the first draft of the script. But that wasn't a problem, because when you get someone like Freya, you would do anything. You can change, you can adapt the story, because to work with her is phenomenal. Even if at the beginning we had our misunderstandings, and it's a bit difficult, because we were talking about it not so long ago about, it was her first movie as a protagonist and my first movie as a director. So we were like, holy shit, what do we do here? And you get into this working relationship, and she's fantastic. I mean, I don't need to say that she's going to be a huge star, because she will, because she not only you can put the camera anywhere and she always going to fill the frame. She has that charisma. It's also that she's a very good actress, and she has her head on her shoulders, and that's very, very important in this business, because it's very, very easy to lose it when you are so young, so good, and so successful. So a pleasure to work with her, with everyone, basically.
Yeah.
I think one of the big talking points of this movie is going to be the overall concept of talking to the dead for 2 minutes before something bad starts to happen. So I'm going to ask you, Alberto, given the opportunity, would you take the chance to talk to Baghead? And
absolutely, I'm too curious not to do that, and I know who I would talk to, because, as you can imagine, I've been asked the question many times. I could bring back Freddie Mercury, because at least I get 2 minutes of good music. I don't feel like I need to talk to anyone who has passed away to find something really. I don't have, but the curiosity, obviously, I would do it. What about you guys? You would do it. Come on.
Your answer inspired me. I think, I would do that too. I would talk to David Bowie.
One.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. That's a good one. I had not even thought of like, you can literally
talk to a famous person.
You can talk to anyone.
Everyone is thinking, no, it's too creepy. I bring back my grandpa or this great audience. What for? Freddie Mercury, man, or whatever, Elvis Presley, whatever. You have a free concert.
Yeah, no kidding. Bring back Mary Shelley. Talk to her about Frankenstein.
Then she's going to ask a lot of questions.
Oh, she's going to ask.
Didn't you learn anything from reading my book of not to do this? Yeah, I would keep with the musical train with you guys. I'm a Ramones head, so I would talk to Joey Ramone. I think that was my pick. Yeah,
that's a good one.
Yeah,
that's rad.
That's awesome. Yeah, I had never even thought of you can just literally talk to anyone. Yeah, I wouldn't do the talking to anyone I knew personally. That would
that's too creepy. That we leave it for another movie.
Yep.
Yeah, no kidding. I don't know if I could I don't know if I could talk to anybody who has moved on from my life.
Mhm.
That would be a little
Well, but
harrowing.
that's also because you have watched the movie and you know you need solution. You have to
Yep.
move on, otherwise bad
Yeah.
things happen.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a warning sign. Just talk to Freddie Mercury. Don't talk to anyone you actually knew. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I gotta ask, Alberto, before we wrap this up, I got two more questions for you. What would you say is if you're gonna show someone one scene from this movie without spoiling anything, to kind of describe, hey, this is Baghead in almost a 60-minute, or excuse me, 60-second to 2-minute scene. What scene are you gonna pull out of this movie and just show in front of someone as, hey, this is the one scene I wanna sell this movie on?
That's a question that nobody has asked before, so I'm not ready for it, man.
You got one, yeah.
Yes.
That's pretty much a curveball. So I have to choose one of the scenes to say this is Baghead, but I don't show Baghead, basically.
But don't spoil the movie. Yeah, this is what you're gonna sell them on. Yeah.
Yeah, probably then I would go for Neil, Sarah in the basement, right at the end when they have their emotional moment where Neil gets completely corrupted. I
Oh,
think
yeah.
that is a scene where you don't really know what's going on if you don't watch the full movie, but you can feel what it is about. Yeah, I think that would be the one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah. And then last question. This is one of my favorite ones to leave our filmmakers off with. And as yourself as a major horror fan, I'm curious to know what your answer is to this. So horror fans, we love to watch double features. So
Okay.
if someone's gonna watch Baghead, what would you say they should watch right after as the perfect double feature to pair with this?
Oof. Complex, because if I go first, then it has to be something worse than my movie. So they don't compare unfavorably, but I cannot recommend bad movies. I don't know. Probably The Witch.
Yeah,
I
that's a
think
good one.
I think
Little-
if you go for the double feature, The Witch would be the one. It's different. It's definitely a different approach, but I think it's a great movie.
Yeah. And you've got that folk horror element that ties both of them together.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's more about paganism. It's right down my alley. Yeah, and the
Yeah.
music. I love the music of that movie too. Photography and so on. And they have a similar color palette, I would say.
Mhm.
Not
Yeah.
completely, but at least the bits in the basement.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I have one quick weird question at the end of this that I want to throw in. That's usually our last one, but is the score for this going to be available anytime? Do you
It
know?
is already.
It is? Okay.
Already. It came out. I think it was 3 weeks ago, because Subi was telling me, yeah, I'm going to bring out the soundtrack. I'm still waiting for my vinyl, Subi. If you see it, I'm still waiting for it. But yeah, it's available. I have it already on my playlist in Apple Music. It's like, oh,
Awesome.
how cool is this?
Yeah, for sure. I love the music in this.
The music from Subi is amazing. I mean, the effort and the talent and so on. And she got exactly what I wanted, because I wanted it to go in a different direction that you normally do in horror movies and be more a personal thing. And again, tie up with paganism and these earthy sounds, and with bones. She worked with bones and with rocks. And I love what she did. It's actually really, really good.
Yeah. I love the score to this. The way it kind of melds with the sound design is so cool.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm a sucker for that kind of stuff. So
It's
that's awesome.
available.
Awesome. Cool. Good to
Awesome.
know.
Well, if people are listening to this, know what else is available. Baghead, the entire movie, is on Shudder by the time this episode comes out. So everybody, please go check out the film on Shudder. And Alberto, where else can people follow you online if they want to stay up to date on what you're working on in the future?
I have an Instagram account. I think that should suffice. And I'm not very good at this social media thing, but now and then I post things. So yeah,
Yeah.
you can follow me in social media.
Awesome. Well,
Awesome.
thank you so much again for taking time out of your day to talk about your film, and we had an absolute blast, and we highly recommend it to everyone out there. So thank you.
Yeah.
Anytime. Anytime.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much, guys. Have a
Yeah,
good one.
thanks.
Thank
Have
you.
a good one.
You're listening to the Prescribed Films Podcast Network, home to hundreds of hours of free podcast entertainment. The shows on this network all have a common goal, providing you with the best discussions about movies and other forms of entertainment media. The PFPN hopes to fill your earholes with audio joy. Visit our website with links to all the other amazing shows at www.thepfpn.com. Thanks for listening.